Everybody keeps asking the same question. Is the California market about to crash or is it about to explode? And honestly, I think both sides are wrong because what's happening right now actually is something far more important. We've entered what I call the California monetary reset. It's a completely different phase of housing where rates are no longer artificially low, prices are no longer exploding vertically, and inventory is slowly normalizing, emphasis on slowly. But affordability is still brutally tight. So in other words, this is becoming a normal market again, but also just an extremely expensive one. So I want to get into the three phases of the California market, starting all the way back at 2020. But before I do that, let me quickly reintroduce myself. My name is Arjun Dhingra. I'm a mortgage advisor here in California. I've been here for 20 years, but in this career for 25. And I've helped thousands of families and individuals and investors put down roots or own a piece of this market. So if we can be of help to you in any way, shape, or form, either just from a strategy standpoint or you just want to talk, then please send me a DM at Arjun Mortgage on Instagram. It's me that answers, not a bot or anyone else, and we'd be happy to help you set up some time and put together a strategy. And if you could please do me one quick and small favor and like this video, subscribe to this channel so we can reach more people like you with content like this. So 2020 to 2022 is what I call the cheap money phase. This was artificially cheap money. We had 2 to 3% rates, which were being kept there pretty much because of the government. There was economic stimulus flushing around everywhere, so money was so easy to come by. Bidding wars were insane. People had so much FOMO that if they didn't buy a house that they were gonna miss out, so this was just adding to the crazy demand. And you had insane appreciation over the course of those 2 years. People were buying homes like they were concert tickets that were about to sell out. But let me tell you guys something. There was nothing normal or healthy about that environment. A lot of people falsely equate low interest rates with a good market and elevated interest rates with a bad one. But that logic is completely flawed and should not be applied to phase one here of what I'm describing. Now, let's move on to phase two. This was between 2023 and 2025, and this was the rate shock phase. The Fed started to get tight because inflation became a household word. People started to understand it, but it also meant that mortgage rates were going to jump. Affordability completely collapsed for a short period of time. Transactions froze, and there was serious psychological paralysis. People were waiting and hoping that rates would get back down in the 2 or 3% range, but as you guys know now, all the way here in 2026, it never happened. So the market didn't crash, it just effectively froze. Buyers disappeared, sellers decided to say, hey, we'll just stay locked in with this 3% mortgage and stay put for now. And everyone just kind of stared at each other awkwardly. Kind of like boys on one side and girls on the other at a junior high dance. That's pretty much what it was. Now phase three, which is what we're currently in, 2026 through 2027. This is the monetary reset phase. Rates are settling into a new normal of remaining in this elevated space, not ultra low, not catastrophic, just normal, but expensive. And quite honestly, I think this is the hardest phase psychologically for buyers and sellers too, because sellers are still waiting to be able to sell their home at a 2021 price, and buyers want the interest rates of 2021, but neither is going to end up happening. Now, for all the people that were calling for a market crash, I want to explain why this never came, why it never happened. And there are a lot of people, if you just go on YouTube and start scrolling for videos and search the term California housing market crash, you will see page after page loaded with videos about this. And if you look at the number of views that all of these videos got, it really tells you how a negative headline or something that's doom and gloom can actually catch on. So you had so much of it that people actually started to believe it might happen, but here's why it didn't. For starters, inventory has been so constrained throughout the United States. You still have a disproportionate amount of buyers and available homes for them. The buyer base also has a much higher income than in previous cycles. A lot of people stayed in their homes because of locked-in rates. There's been major wealth concentration, especially with passing homes down through inheritance. And in most key sectors, we have very low unemployment. So there hasn't been this reason to flood the market with inventory or throw your home on the market all at once. California never had enough inventory before this all took place. And that's something to really keep in mind. And so it definitely doesn't now. What we got instead was a transaction recession, meaning much fewer transactions per market cycle, not a pricing collapse. So there you have it, why the market never crashed. And so this new reality that we're in, what does this mean for buyers and what should they accept? Well, for starters, homes are not just going to dramatically become cheaper. Rates have been modestly improving. They have their moments where they trend a little bit lower, and then there could be a shock such as the Iran war that sends them up. But by and large, there's been a steady and consistent downward trend. More buyers have returned to the market, and inventory is slightly, and I mean with the emphasis on the word slightly, rising in some markets, but prices have remained pretty resilient. So the danger right now is waiting for a market that may never arrive. At the end of the day, if you want to buy, you can't look at this house as a stock. If you have long-term plans, you have to see this as our shelter. this is where we're going to raise our family, or this is where I'm going to live and work out of while I build my next project or the next world-changing company, and I don't have a landlord that's going to jerk me around. Over time, the home will do well, of course, but waiting for prices to crash or to try and find some bottom to this is just a fool's errand. Because remember, if rates were to just dramatically drop into the very low 6s or even high 5s, you're going to have a lot more buyers that enter the market, bidding wars ensue, and prices go, yes, up. So just remember that, and that's your urgency if you are someone that actually wants to buy. So here's a 12-month buyer strategy. Because if you're looking to do so, let's just say in the next 12 months, the next year, then you have to remember that strategy matters a lot more than just predictions. First and foremost, you want to buy before competition surges. When rates remain elevated or there are shocks to the news cycle, such as the Iran war, oil prices, gas prices, buyers get spooked and they back out. But if you are a serious buyer and you stay locked in, those end up being your best opportunities because of decreased competition. Focus on payment comfort and not interest rates. Interest rates are temporary. You get one shot to negotiate that sales price and structure the deal. And you will have countless opportunities over the lifetime of you being in that home to lower your interest rate and payment. And also keep in mind, guys, that inventory is starting to normalize. A better way to look at it is marry the house and strategically manage the debt. That's a much better version of the old cliche of marry the house, date the rate. The buyers who win in this market are not timing geniuses. They're just prepared and decisive when the opportunity comes up. Now, if you're someone that bought during any of those earlier phases of what I just described, here's what you should do. Now, I'm talking to people who have slightly higher interest rates. They bought in 2023, 2024. And what you need to know is that not every refinance makes sense. You need to figure out what the true break-even analysis is. What are the closing costs that are involved? How long are you actually going to stay in this home for it to even make sense? And does it actually improve your cash flow situation? Meaning the amount of money that's leaving your house and going out to the bank. A refinance at the end of the day is a math and money decision, not an emotional one. Sometimes the smartest move for a current owner is to wait for a better refinance opportunity later. So I'm not one of these people here that's telling you refinance every time a rate drops just a little bit. You want to do it strategically where it makes sense, and ultimately what's going to be in your best financial interest. Now, there's one problem with this entire picture that I'm painting, and that's called the golden handcuffs issue or problem. And it's one of the biggest problems in California housing. People that have 3% or even lower than that interest rates. Just the other day, I talked to a client on the phone that it's a 2.625%. That's the lowest rate I've ever heard of. Like seriously, 2.625%. Crazy. But people feel locked in because of that, because quite honestly, they're never going to have that kind of affordability around their mortgage debt. They also have a fear of moving because, let's be honest, guys, no one enjoys it. It's a pain in the ass. So they feel trapped, but they're equity rich and mobility poor. There's also a real fear of capital gains. They don't want to give so much of their money away to the feds and to the state. And so people actually sometimes stay more in love with their house payment than their actual house. And so what ultimately happens, they keep their house, they stay in it, even though they don't like the house that much. They might convert it into a rental. They still might move, but they'll keep that house and not sell it, which means there's even less inventory out there. They'll use a HELOC to upgrade it or go make other investments. And so there are always ways to solve this creatively, guys, but you just need strategy. So in close, the California market is not crashing. There's no signs that would lead anyone with half a brain to believe that it will crash. It's just recalibrating. And I believe we're entering a much more strategic era of real estate right now, where understanding financing, liquidity, and long-term planning matters more than ever. The easy money phase is over, but opportunity still exists for people who understand the new rules of the game. So if you're trying to figure out what your next move is in this monetary reset, whether you are someone who wants to break into the market and buy for the first time, you're looking to move up, or you are looking to downgrade, and you need help putting together the right strategy, then reach out to our team and allow us to help you make this a reality. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you on the next video.